Okay, so for this exercise, we're studying now chapter 4 in your book, Textures and Pattern. And this is the activity book. Now, I want you to do the activity, the ones that are coming, each one of them, but also this one by doing it in black and white as you can see it on your book, okay? Now, I drew this just freehand. As you can see, my drawing is slightly different. And we're gonna do a rendering in class. And for that, I'm gonna give you a few copies of the drawing. And I just did one, try it out, just to show you how will I sometimes find things that I have to apply texture. In this case, I had two tiles, although this one, I'm using it on this size. I don't know if you can see the ridges in there, and it's all written, but it's clean. And maybe also it's a little texture here because it's a tile for anti-slippery, so it has a short texture. Now, the other one that I use on the wall is a piece of stone, and as you can see here, it has a very nice, texture. So just kind of paying attention around you and touching things, you might save a lot of time into adding some interest on your drawing and textures without having to create each one of the little points. So for this drawing, I'm gonna have markers that I selected, pretty much the ones I have been using. Some color pencils, more than anything is, 3 colors and a little bit for the plant, flowers and glass. And I also have this time a couple of pastels. As you can see, we had done a little bit of pastel in class. So anyway, with the copy, put another piece of paper under so you won't have to, stain all the table. And what I'm going to do, I'm going to move it around as usual. And I'm going to go first on the walls. So you put the white part of the markers and very fast move it up. Okay, remember we are still drawing on copy paper. So if you get to the edge of the ink, you know it's going to smear. Okay, so I'm going to try to do as good as I can without going over. Doesn't matter if you have little white parts and and you see the lines. Remember, the lines on the marker is typical of markers. So, and this is going to be the last one. I'm going to diffuse. I'm going to leave part of the drawing just white, okay? So I'm assuming the light is hitting the object from this side. I'm going to do the same on the floor. And for that, I'm going to use the maple yellow. Very quickly, this time I have to go pretty much over the black. So very fast. Look how much smear in there. Don't worry about it. This I just tried out. I want you to try it out many times you can. Okay, and I forgot that part of the wall. Now, the table, again, I can use the pale cherry. That has nothing pale about it. Be careful with touching the drawing after you pass over. Make sure where you're doing this is quite ventilated. These markers are very strong. And the other good thing is to keep the same direction. Be careful, especially with the dark marker. Once you apply the marker, it's really hard to get rid of it. I'm going to put maybe one of the frames. It's going to be this color. And what I want you to do in this one is to splash a little bit of every color everywhere. Remember, the light is hitting from here, so this is going to be kind of the darker part of it. Okay, don't worry too much. You can even put a little bit on the plant if you want. So I'm going to put the light color again, the one I use for the floor. This one is maple yellow. Oh, it's getting a lot of that dark. And I'm gonna also use part of the shade. Look how I'm leaving on purpose this part of the drawing. I guess I can get rid of the black ink in there. Sometimes you can take advantage of that too. And the other thing I'm going to do very fast, so maybe just to add a little bit of reflection on the glass. I'm gonna come back later, and maybe I can put some of that to here. The blue one, I can do some shades and shadows. Look how it's not blue anymore. So I'm assuming the light in there. And after all that, I can probably, let me see, I'm going to have, with the light sand color, I'm going to do a little bit of pretending there's a shadow under the table, that it probably will be. Anyway, so I'm going to apply this yellowish color. And 4, that's about the measurement of the table, of the plank on the floor. And because the light is hitting this way, so it's probably going to have an angle here, and it's going to have an angle there, okay? Just to make it as believable as you can. Maybe here I can add a little bit of this, a little bit of that there, a little bit of there, you know? You can splash the color. Let me splash a little bit here because this part is also with a little bit of shade here, okay? So after you do all that, I'm going to show you how you can apply and use with the color pencils the texture. And in this case, I'm going to put it vertical, okay? Normally, I would keep things vertical on the walls. And always the stroke, remember, one direction, okay? And in the vertical walls, we also use the direction from the bottom up, from the top down. It doesn't matter. Don't do it from horizontal because it creates a whole different feeling of it. So I'm gonna go with the dark. Let me see, I'm just gonna put a little bit of the light one, and I'm just gonna do, let me make sure I have the tile under. And I'm just gonna go make sure it is straight. And I'm just gonna make sure that I'm using just the side of the pencil. Okay, don't move it. And just take advantage of that. Now, because it's a texture, and because this is the part where I'm pretending that the shady, you know, the less amount of light is there, I'm gonna leave this part almost totally clean, okay? Okay, so in a few seconds, I had a chance to do that just by using the texture. And I can use this one. I don't know how much it's gonna show, but I can use this one with a lighter color maybe. It will show better on the table. I'm also gonna make sure that it's totally vertical. It's a little harder to see it on this. Let me see if I go darker. Well, some work and some don't. I don't think this was very successful. I don't see, you can see very well the texture on that one. Now I can apply just manually a little bit of the texture here on the lamp, a different one. And the only thing I'm doing is I'm just wiggling. And remember, the part where the light hits is where you're gonna see the wiggle. And it's just gonna die out into where the light. So I'm just keeping kind of the material. Not quite defined. Remember, every time you have a presentation and something, you're gonna have a real piece, or most of the time you're gonna have a real piece of the object. Let me rescue maybe the plant a little bitty. I'm gonna leave that side white just on purpose. Okay. And the other thing I'm going to do, so pretty much I'm done with the markers, and I'm just gonna mark a few flowers, or maybe something that the plant has, to make it more realistic. I can go back into my darker colors and or my light ivy, and I just can put some more in here. And what I'm going to do, I'm just gonna splash some of that color everywhere. I'm going to splash some of the reds, you know, in here. Some of the red in here, you won't be able to see it. Some of the red on the shadows. Tiny bit, so different quantities of the reds. And I think I should finish the video at this point, but you get the message. So this one pretty much, I can soften out a little bit, and I can just add a little bit of dark. Now I can redefine, you know, the object. I'm going to add a little bit of that dark, and of course this can be defined with the dark. Make sure your pencils are always sharp. Okay,